Hmm. So I got few questions, so I'm just converting them into not questions. It's like interview questions only, but the knowledge gap what I found, I just wanted to cover that part. Um, Let me open up this material and then I will show you. S- Today we discussed about dropping non-clustered and clustered, right? So what will be our explanation when someone throws that kind of question? Like the question is nothing but we have a non-cluster index and we drop that non-cluster index. So will there be any data loss? As simple as that. So, so when you have a non-cluster index and we drop it, will there be any data loss? So that is the question. So there will not be any data loss. That's very simple. Um, Let me just cover up that with a small practical example so that it will be very clear irrespective of your experience, because senior people they can understand, but juniors I think they might have a small problem. So I'll just throw a simple example. I'll say Vinal Drev covering index. Dot. Long time back, he has written some 4 articles on covering index. So I just wanted to look up that part. Yeah, this example is good enough. I think I made use of this example long time back, but just to use some practical example, I'm just throwing this up. This is fine. Just let me just quickly create this. I could have just discussed, but if I'm showing something practical, it will be more easy for you to digest. That is the only reason. Use stem baby. Yeah, it's fine. So I have something by name. One index is the table name, and I have ID, first name, last name, and city. And I inserted 1,000 rows or 1 lakh rows or 100,000 rows into this table, right? So I don't have any indexes. So let's try to understand and create some clustered and non-clustered indexes and see what happens if I drop them and see those. I will try to cover those scenarios. Very basics, but still, I think uh, somewhere around 5 to 6 years or maybe 5 to 8 years, they still have confusion. I just wanted to avoid that. Um, let's first understand this. New query. So when I run this, okay, let me run this again. I'm getting table scan. So why I'm getting table scan? It's very visible. I didn't create any indexes. So the only way SQL engine can get the rows from the table is by using table scan operator. There is no other go. So that is the reason it is coming up with table scan. Now, if I just create cluster index, what will happen? I think I covered this, but I will quickly ramp up this. I will not waste my time again by doing the same practical, but just wanted to address few things here. Okay, so sorry, primary, let me remove that primary. So now I created cluster index. So I'm running the same example again, but this time, so you have to understand there are 4 columns here, right? ID, first name, last name, and city. I just created cluster index on ID. Okay. So what is the difference between clustered and non-clustered, and what will happen if I drop them? That is the question, right? So since I created clustered index, if I run the same query now, will there be any change in the execution plan with respect to operator? Let's check that. So now I'm seeing cluster index scan in place of table scan. Why I'm getting clustered index scan in place of table scan? Why not seek or something else? Just discuss that part and I'll move on there. Why I'm getting
Uh,
scan only? Why not seek? Again, the same question, very common question. Is seek better or scan better? That is one more common interview question. Don't say scan is better or seek is better. There is no particular answer. Okay. There is no particular answer. That is the reason you should not say scan is better or seek is better. I'm just throwing an example, practical example, just to clear those misconceptions. So I didn't create any index on city here. So okay, so anything after the where clause, they call it as predicate. Use the terms what I'm using in interview so that it gives you a better impression. So whatever the statement what I have written after the where clause. So this column is called as predicate. It's a condition. So that we call it as predicate. Okay. So here the city column is nothing but it's called as predicate. So I'm saying where city equal to Las Vegas. I didn't create any index on city. So I cannot seek. The only option is to scan the table. So one thing you have to understand, I just created um, index on ID, right? I just created cluster index on ID. And I'm saying where city equal to Las Vegas. So how I am getting the information from cluster index scan? It should be table scan only, right? Why I'm getting it as cluster index scan? Because I didn't write where ID equal to. I said where city equal to Las Vegas.
Cluster index have all done.
So remember that, guys, cluster index is nothing but your table. I told this n number of times, but still again there are confusions. So I don't know why you're getting that confusions again and again. Clustered index is nothing but table. Remember that word for your lifetime. Okay, cluster index is table. So when I created cluster index, I have the information of ID, first name, last name, and city. So I have B tree structure. Okay, B tree structure is sorted with ID, but in the leaf pages of the B tree structure, I have the information of first name, last name, and city as well. Remember that we have B tree structure, but that B tree structure is organized by ID column. I mean, it will be created based on the ID column. Along with that ID column, I have the information of first name, last name, and city in my leaf pages when it comes to cluster index. Okay, that should be very clear. If you're not talking, I will mute you guys. I don't want others to get disturbed. I hope this is clear, right? Cluster index means it's a table and it has information about all other columns in the leaf pages. Cluster index is also B tree structure. Now let's try to understand non-cluster index and see what happens. So now I'm going to create non-cluster index on city. Okay. So this means that, okay, the difference between cluster and non-cluster index is also, leave out this ascending order. I don't need this. By default, it is ascending. You don't need to specify that. Okay, I missed this closing part. By default, any index what you create, it will be in ascending order. So I created index on city now. Okay, only city. So now what will happen with this execution plan? Will there be any change? Let's try to execute that and see. So I got few rows. So now I have index on city. Okay, now it is going with seek and key lookup. Okay, and now I'm getting seek and key lookup. One thing you have to understand, it should be very clear. When you have non-cluster index, it has B tree structure just like clustered. Okay, that is first thing. But non-cluster index always contains information only on that particular column. So it contains information of only city. Okay, and that is the only column on which we have created the index. It doesn't know anything about first name and last name. Remember that it doesn't know anything about first name and last name, whereas clustered index contains everything because that itself is a table. That is the reason you can create only one cluster index. You cannot create multiple cluster indexes because you cannot create multiple tables with single table, right? I mean, you cannot organize the table in different formats. So you can organize only in one format, and that one format is your cluster index. That cluster index is nothing but your table. Okay. So now I created index on city. I'm getting seek and key lookup. Okay. So what is key lookup? And don't say that key lookup is the bottleneck all the time in interviews. So do you think key lookup is problem here? Looking at the cost and something like this, I don't think so because you are just getting 100 rows out of 100,000 rows what you have. Okay. And it is absolutely fine to make use of key lookup here. Don't always blame key lookup. This is perfectly fine example and key lookup is perfectly fine. So just I will show you with what can I say with index. I will try to force the index and see what happens. I think, is there any, I think with index is there, right? Okay, let me try to force the index. Any questions you can ask me, but I just wanted to cover up this. I think with index, index, index name or index equal to, what is that? Let me just check that.
So, Vamsi, is it possible to create cluster index on different column? Already primary key is there, right? Same column we can create cluster index.
1 second, I will get you, bro. Just a second. Let me check that syntax. With index. Okay, it's not here. Yeah, with index name. Let me copy this. I always tend to forget this syntax. Sorry for that. I will come back to your question, but just a second. What is my cluster index? Index ix underscore. Just to prove you that I mean seeks are better or scans are better or what is that? Lookups are always problem. I just wanted to clear this myths. That's it. Okay, I'm forcing the index with the second query where I'm saying SQL Server to make use of my cluster index. Whereas the first one I'm not forcing, I'm just leaving as is. Okay, very simple example. I'm just touching one table. I'm not even joining multiple tables. Just see what happens. So here the cost is 39% and here the cost is 61%. Not only that, with respect to cost, let me show you the logical reads. Okay, so let me go to messages. The first one, if you see the reads are 218, whereas the second one, when I force the clustered, it is 486. So what is the better plan here? With cluster index is the better plan or without cluster index is the better plan? I mean, seek and key lookup is better or scan is better? Which one is better? By looking at this, it's very clear, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So here key lookup is not a bottleneck. So I've seen many examples in our group where people, if someone shows up their execution plan, if they find key lookup, then and there itself, people are saying key lookup is the problem. That's not the case, guys. That's not the case. Okay. So key lookup is a problem only if I'm getting too many rows. If you see a thick fat line appearing from this, okay, and there are few more things like something called as residual predicates and all, then I will think about key lookup. Otherwise, I will never consider this as a bottleneck. And now coming to seek and scan, which one is better? Obviously, seek is outperforming scan because I'm forcing the cluster index, but still SQL Server is saying seek is much better in this case. Let's try to flip this with another use case. Just the same thing. I'll just try to change the information. So I think let me check city. I don't know how the table is organized. Let me say select count star. Count star, what is that? City, right? City from one index. Group, sorry, group by city. Very simple. Let me check the distribution of data. So out of 100,000 rows, I think this one is 70,000 rows. So I'm just changing from, what is that, what I'm using? Las Vegas to, what is that? The other one, Houston or Houston, what you call, I don't mind. So let me change the data. I'm just changing the data, nothing else. Let me copy this. Copy, paste. I don't need this. I'm just changing that to Houston, Houston. Oh my God. Okay, that's it. No change. Las Vegas here. Las Vegas is coming up with seek and key lookup. I'm just changing that to Houston or Houston. So why it is saying cluster index scan now? Why not seek and key lookup? I just changed the city information. That's it. I didn't change anything else. The index is already there, but SQL Server is not making use of index. So the same thing. Now I will try to force non-cluster index and see what happens. With index, this time, index name is ix1 index city. And see the difference. So why SQL Server is using scan instead of seek when in case of Houston city. Okay, I'm running both plans together. If you see, the first one is just 3%. And if you see the non-clustered, it is 97% now. 97%. And the number of reads, if you see, 486 in case of clustered, whereas in case of non-clustered, it is some 144,000. Are you getting now? So don't say seek is best or scan is best. There is nothing like that. There is no such use case. It depends upon how many rows you are retrieving from the table. Okay. If you see the Las Vegas, out of 100,000 rows, I just have 100 rows only. Okay. 100 rows, which means it is highly selective. So that is the reason SQL Server is making use of seek and key lookup in case of Las Vegas. Because I'm just doing 100 rows, I need to get 100 rows only. So that is the reason I am seeking on my non-cluster index and I'm going to the cluster index. You can see here, key lookup in the brackets, they are saying clustered, which is nothing but our table. Why it is going to the table? Because I don't have information about first name. So if you see here, just look at the output list. You can see one index dot first name, right? So I don't have the information of first name in my non-cluster index. That is the reason I have to go to my base table, which is nothing but clustered index. So get that information and then get the results for me. Okay. So that is the reason, since this is highly selective, Las Vegas is highly selective. In our example, SQL Server is going with seek and key lookup, which is less cost compared to cluster index scan. Okay. So the same example, if I change this to Houston, which is not highly selective, SQL Server by itself, it's going with the cluster index scan, because instead of doing multiple seeks and key lookups, if you see now, if I'm forcing that index, if you see here, I'm doing so many key lookups. Okay, I'm doing 70,000 key lookups. Just look at the estimated number of executions over here. You can see it, right? Estimated number of executions is 70,000. So I have to read 70,000 rows from the table. So seek lookup, seek lookup, seek lookup. So I have to do this 70,000 times. Instead of performing these many key lookups, SQL Server is saying, no, boss, I cannot do seek and key lookup. It's always better to go with scan, because scan is cheaper here. Because I can just read all the information within my table by doing the cluster index scan. Okay, so are you getting this or any confusions? Because this is basic, but still people are getting confused. That is the only reason I'm pulling up this example again. Questions are
Here
most
also
welcome.
it is 70,000, right?
It is
Execution.
70,000. Okay, it is 70,000 only. But if you see the number of reads, okay, that is the reason I said number of reads. If you see in the first case, I'm just reading 486 pages. But here I'm reading 144,000 pages. I mean, 1,44,569.
Oh, we need to consider logical reads. Okay.
Logical reads is the thing that I need to consider along with my cost when you are dealing with execution plan. These are basics, but I just wanted to highlight that. Why I'm getting 144,569? Why this big number? So this
That might
explanation,
be key lookups.
yeah, that is key lookup
Yeah.
only, but this explanation is there in my sessions. So you can watch like how the cluster index is getting created and how many pages are being accommodated within the cluster index and how non-cluster index gets created. Everything is there. I can't repeat that. But since you asked, it is because I'm doing so many reads. That is the reason SQL Server is considering 3% here and SQL Server is considering 90%, 97% when it comes to seek and key lookup for Houston, which is not highly selective. Okay. So any questions? I hope nothing. So now the question today is, what happens if I drop the non-cluster index? Will there be any data loss? So that is the question. There will not be any data loss. Let me show you. So I'll say drop index, index name on table name. Drop index, index name on table name. I'm dropping the non-cluster index. Okay. So before I drop, just for your information, what if I remove this first name? Will there be any change in the execution plan?
No.
No, it will be why I'm getting index seek now. And okay, this is by default. Okay, I'm not forcing. So if I force also, I will get the same thing. So why SQL Server has removed that scan and it's going with seek now, just by removing that first name. If you understand the basics, this question is very much answerable.
It will not search for first name now.
Yeah, first name is not there with non-cluster index, so it need not go to my key lookup. I mean I need not go to my base table and fetch that first name for you. So it is just seeking on my non-cluster index. Okay, so that is the reason it is seeking, because you have the index on city. Okay, and the same goes with Las Vegas also. So if I remove this first name here, okay, and if I just go with ID, okay, here also you will get index seek. I didn't create index on ID, right? Why I'm getting, why it is not going to the base table again to fetch the ID? Why only for first name? Why not for ID? Because ID is nothing but that is cluster index. Every non-cluster index will have the information of the relative cluster index column. Okay, that is the reason I don't need to go to my base table. If I write first name or last name here, obviously I have to go to my base table. I hope it is clear, right?
Yes, Vamsi.
Yeah. So question, let's try to drop the non-clustered. Any data loss? There will not be any data loss. I just dropped the index on city. So now if I perform the same action, so what will happen? Nothing will happen. There will not be any data loss. Still, I will get that 100 rows for Las Vegas. And now it is going with cluster index scan. Why cluster index scan? Because I cannot seek on city. I don't have any non-cluster index on city. Obviously, I'm going with cluster index scan. The same case. So if anyone questions you when will you drop the non-cluster index, or will there be any data loss, your answer should be non-cluster indexes can be dropped and there will not be any data loss. But before dropping, you have to ensure that the reads are superior to writes. Whenever we are creating the index, remember the main purpose of index is to speed up our read operations. Okay, to speed up our read operations, not writes, because writes are not meant, I mean, the indexes are not meant to speed up our write operations, except in case of deadlocks, leaving out that scenario. In general, if I take reads are the operations that is helping, I mean, indexes are helping to go to speed up our read operations. It's all about reads. Okay. In case if you're dropping a non-cluster index, you have to check the number of reads and writes. Okay. That you can find it from blitz index. For example, I think there's a new server. I think I didn't create blitz index. Let me get that script. Blitz index GitHub. Whenever you wanted to install Brent Ozar stuff, make use of GitHub, because on GitHub, uh, it will get, I mean, you'll get the updated information. So Blitz index is here. Let me minimize this, copy. And if I go over here and execute this, I need Blitz cache also. Blitz cache, copy. 1 second. This is done. This is done. So now if I go to SP Blitz index at the rate table name equal to that table name, one index, I believe. So can you, if you go over here, the reads and writes, I'm talking about reads and writes. Okay. Your read should be higher than writes before you drop that. Not just a second. I'm getting noise. So your read should be superior. I mean, read should be very high compared to your writes before dropping any non-cluster index. That is the first thumb rule that you have to remember. And also you have to remember, you have to ask your developers whether it is read heavy table or write heavy table. If it is read heavy table, before dropping that non-cluster index, you have to verify with them multiple times, because as I said, reads are the main purpose. I mean, indexes are there to speed up our reads. That is the first thing. And sometimes there will be something called as monthly reports, that in that case, that index will be used only when you run that monthly report. In other times, like if it is during the first week or second week or third week of the month, you will not see the usage of that index, that particular index. But there will be a monthly report that runs only on month ends, and that is very crucial for your what can I say, reports for your higher management. And if that query runs very slow, it will affect your business. Just imagine. In that case, you should not be dropping your non-cluster index, because that non-cluster index is created purely to speed up your monthly reports. So that information will not be there with DBS, right? So that is the reason before dropping any non-cluster index, you have to contact your application or development team, and you have to ask them if you can drop this non-cluster index because you find that non-cluster index as unused or duplicate, whatever it is. So that is the reason you have to have the information with you before dropping any non-cluster index. It's not just simply dropping. You will drop that. No, if you are having any monthly report, then you will see the real, threat of that dropping that non-cluster index. So be very careful. Okay, so now the next question, what happens if I drop the cluster index itself? Will there be any data loss? Same thing. So drop index, where is that clustered? This is one, right? Drop index. This is the one. There will not be any data loss again. Remember that. Drop index, index name on table name. That's it. We dropped it. Now, if I run the same example, Houston or Las Vegas, what will be the execution plan? Obviously, table scan, because I don't have any index, right? So I don't have any index. So obviously, I will go back to table scan in place of cluster index scan. Okay, the same thing. If I just create index on non-cluster index, I don't. So sorry, let me drop this. If I just create non-cluster index, but I didn't create any cluster index, if I run the same example, Las Vegas. So in this case, you will see RAD lookup. So if you have cluster index, we call it as key lookup. And if you don't have cluster index, we call it as RAD lookup. As simple as that. Okay, so now if you see ID is the one that is being referred here in case of output list. Can you notice this? ID. ID is the column for which I am going to that base table, which is nothing but RID lookup in this case. But if you have clustered on ID, you don't need to go to the base table because non-cluster index contains city information and ID information by default. Okay, is this clear? I'm just going to move on with further questions. Any questions here? I'm just stopping here for a while. Yes, no, clear, unclear. So now if you appear for interviews, if someone asks you whether seek is best or scan is best, what will be your answer? Seek is best, right?
Depends.
Yeah, don't say seek is best or scan is best. It depends upon selectivity of the data. Use the terms, technical terms, if you wanted to clear in your interviews happily. So this is called as predicate. Okay, this section is called as predicate. And whatever the condition what you are writing, so this is nothing but selectivity. So selectivity here, if you see the selectivity of city, I have 70,000 records with Houston and just 100 records with Las Vegas. So Las Vegas is highly selective. So that is the reason. So now let's see if I go with any other city, New York or San Marino, will it go with seek or will it go with scan? What's your thought on other columns? Let me just switch to New York. New York. Okay. What will be the output? Will I get the seek and key lookup or will I get scan?
Seek and key lookup.
I didn't get you, Bo. Come again.
Seek and
Seek
key
and key
lookup.
lookup. Okay, you are saying seek and key lookup. Okay, let's check this. Can you see this? It's going with, we are not having, what is that? Key lookup is not there because I dropped the cluster index. We have only non-cluster index. So this is going with scan again for New York. Okay, why it is going for scan with New York? Because out of 100,000 rows, I am pulling 9,900 rows. Okay, I'm pulling 9,900 rows. So SQL is thinking that this is too high to carry out multiple seek and key lookups. That is the reason it is coming back with scan. So let's check the other. Of course, 9,900 rows itself is New York itself is coming with scan, means obviously Los Angeles and San Marino will be coming up with scan only. It will not go with seek and key lookup. So highly selective. When I say highly selective, you should have minimal rows. What is that minimal rows? There is no such formula in SQL Server. Usually people say, I think 3% is what I heard, but there is no such direct formula to talk about selectivity. So the minimal the rows, it is highly selective. Okay, so 100 is the number of rows what we have for Las Vegas out of 100,000 rows. So this is highly selective. But 9,000 is not highly selective because we are pulling so many rows. So if you are pulling so many rows, obviously SQL is going with scan. It has to go with scan because you will get minimal rows. Okay, but if I force this now, let me just force this for New York. New York. I will remove that first name, and I'm instructing the SQL server to go with non-cluster index. What is that name? This one, right? Next. Okay, if you do this, now if you check the number of reads, so this is 13%. If I go with scan, if I go with seeks and lookup, it is 87%. And if you see the number of reads, it is 484 versus 9,939. So that is the problem. That is the reason why SQL Server is going with scan for New York. So now it should be very clear in your minds whenever you are appearing for interviews, and if you get a question like about seek or scan, there is no straightforward answer. You have to say it depends upon the columns that are being covered, means I have index or not. If I am having index, that index will be used only if I'm having selectivity. You have to check the selectivity. If that rows are highly selective, then seek and key lookup are the best ones. If not, scan is the best one. So that should be our answer. Okay, I'm moving on. I hope this is clear. Dropping the cluster also, I think I have shown you. Dropping the cluster will not do anything, will not cause any problems. And even dropping the non-cluster index also will not cause any problems. There will not be any data loss. That is the second question what we covered. Third question is very interesting. Let me explain that situation. I cannot recreate that, but I will explain you that situation what I faced, and it will be very interesting. Just wait for a second. This one I will cover, maintenance plan, because that is one more question what I got. Let me show you. So imagine you went for interview. Okay. Not this one. So I'll say simple. Not this one. I will say this is my blog, but even I don't know where I've written this. Okay, this one. Yeah. Okay. Let's imagine you have a situation. Okay. You have a situation where this happened for me in one of my companies, what I work with. So it's a serious situation. And if you're appearing for interviews and if the interviewer is asking you about one of the tough situations that you handle with always on, you can talk about this. Okay. So the scenario is we have always on setup. Okay. It is in synchronous mode between okay, let me explain this very clearly. Let me try to go with MS Paint just for a second. Or what is that draw.io? Something is there. I think that is easy. Draw.io. I am explaining this situation because one of my mates, he got a doubt where the database itself is in simple recovery model. Okay, but it is getting full every now and then. It is getting full. So he proposed a full recovery model and taking the log backup at regular intervals. Do you think is that a right solution? I mean, not he, maybe his team. I don't know who exactly it is. I will explain that question one more time. The database is in simple recovery model, but the log file is getting full very fastly. What will you do in such case? What will be your answer? I mean, just think that is an interview question. What will be your answer?
Vamsi, I face this issue frequently. I'll give checkpoint. I'll issue checkpoint.
Okay, you will issue checkpoint. Okay, checkpoint. If it helps, then fine. So what else? See, it
So
depends upon the
log.
number of. Sorry to break you just for a second. Because it depends upon your experience. So if you are more experienced, I will expect more from you. If you are somewhere, say for example, 3 to 6, if you are giving me the right answers, I mean, it may not be very deep, but at least you are passing the right answers. That is fine with me. So it depends upon your experience. So I will try to cover whether it is the 3 to 6 or 6 to 12, whatever it is. So I will try to cover that. Before that, let me, yeah, you can go ahead. Someone was about to said something.
We need to check when was the last full backup and differential has been happened.
Why should I
Firstly,
check the last full and differential when my transaction log is getting full in simple recovery model? Any relation?
so instead of growing the log file, if
Mm.
we take the full backup and if we shrink that log file, we may get some space.
No, this is one more common misconception. When your database is part of simple recovery model, okay, no matter how many full or differential backups you take, it won't release any space from log file. Okay, so somebody said checkpoint. Yeah, checkpoint sometimes helps you to resolve that issue. I didn't check the lookup, sorry, but general we are
Uh,
not. Oh, many
Yeah,
questions are
Vamsi.
here. One second,
yeah, Vamsi, can I say something on this issue?
just a second, Salman, just a second. I didn't go through the questions, but generally we are not
Sure, sure,
supposed to
sure.
read the cluster index, right? Yeah, we are not supposed to read the cluster index. It's just for interview sake. Okay. Seek and key recovery. That's fine. We'll rely on log reuse weight description column and then act on it. So that is one more answer. I do agree with that answer. Yeah, Salman, you can go ahead now.
Yeah,
My
so if the database is simple or whatever, full log, bulk log, log file will grow based on the transaction. So
Yeah,
first we need to check what are the transaction currently running on this database.
yeah.
Okay, DBCC OpenTran, we can check, and we can also check is there any maintenance job. So we will try to find out when the log file will grow. Suppose if we are doing the maintenance job index rebuilding, definitely it will increase the log file size, right?
Okay.
So we'll check is there any maintenance job is running that is still running due to workload, the business hours or something. So that will also cause the log file grow. We will check the open transaction. What are the open transaction? We will check the blocking. If some
Mm,
some session is blocked, many sessions, right? One
mm,
SPI ID is
mm.
being blocked by many session. It will not release, and it will capture those information in log file. And it is simple recovery model, right? So if the log backup is not happening, right? The
Mm.
log after the log backup happened, then the transaction will clear from the log file. So we'll go step by step to find out what exactly the causing the issue to know the actual log file. And if someone has mentioned log reuse weight is descending, if it is saying log backup is required, if it
Yeah.
is saying some oldest page or
So
anything related to that.
so when it is in simple recovery model, so I don't need to bother about log backup. That is one.
Correct, correct,
So I have
correct.
only few things left. One is replication. I mean, I'm talking about weight description column information. So one is
Yes,
replication and one is availability replica. And the most important part is active transaction. Okay. So in case
correct.
of
Open
simple recovery
transaction.
model,
Yeah,
so what is stopping us from log file to getting, it has to get shrink automatically when it reaches 70% full. But if it is not happening, that means there is an active transaction that is preventing that to happen. Okay. So the solution what one of our mates or maybe his teammates proposed in his case is they are going with full recovery model and log backup. Do you think that will help them? No way, because simple recovery model itself is clearing the log file at regular intervals. But in his case, they are suggesting to go with full and log backup, which is absolutely of no use. It will not help them at all. So you have to
yeah.
understand
It
that
will grow.
it will
Yeah,
grow,
it
and
will
even if you
grow.
take
Yeah,
log backups, it doesn't shrink. It doesn't help you to clear that log files. I mean to
correct,
say
correct.
VLFs. Okay, so that is of no use. So if you are in simple recovery model and if your log file is getting full, that means your only use case is I cannot go with the availability replica because for replicas we need a full recovery model. So
Full
leave out
recovery
that.
model.
So
Correct.
the only thing what you can check is active transaction. That is what I'm going to discuss. So with this scenario, what I faced long time back, let me just go with this and I'll show
And
you.
if the database, CDC is enabled and our cleanup and capture job is not running properly, then also log file will grow, right? I mean,
Yeah, and
your
also log file
particular
will grow. Yes, yes, it will grow. Where is this one? Lessons. Yeah, I think this one. Sorry, I just went with some other thing. Okay. So if you can explain this in interviews also, I mean, if you are throwing like the scenarios, what you handle with always on, there are many scenarios that we can discuss, but this is one such use case. that gives you an additional weightage or advantage. Okay, so you can see here, I will explain you with a situation. So one of the developers on, I think it's on pre-prod, what I thought even maybe on production, I'm not sure about the environment. So they has to change the data type from int to begint. Very simple. From int to begint. Very, very, very simple. And he has the permissions because I think he was like a kind of elevated developer in that project. So he has the permissions, and he went and he ran this something like alter table name, alter
It
column,
will stuck.
begint not null. Okay, so he's trying to change the data type from int to begint on always on, where this is the kind of setup what I got. I have 3 replicas in one region and 2 replicas in another region. So these 2 are in async, these 3 are in sync, and he's trying to change this on primary. Obviously, I cannot do it on secondaries. Secondaries are read only. So I have to carry this on primary, and he's doing this on primary to change the data type from int to begint. Okay, obviously it generated 330 GB log file. Okay, so I'll show you. If you see here, okay, I will 6 replicas. Okay, initially the log file was 2 GB. When he started that operation, it was just 2 GB, and now after this operation, it failed. Eventually, it failed, but the log file, whatever the drive space that is remaining, it has grown up to 330 GB. Still, the operation is not yet completed because it failed because log file is full. I think my log file size was somewhere at 350 or 400, whatever it is on that drive. And this database, the log file usage started at 2 GB and it went up to 330 GB. 2 GB to 330 GB. Now, the sad part is this 330 GB that got generated on primary has to get traversed to all my second replicas.
Yes, it will impact.
Are you getting? I will take away Salman from this equation because he is a senior DBA. I want others to talk. So are you getting this point? I need to change the data type from int to begint. Okay, on always on setup, where I have 5 or 6 replicas. I mean 3 replicas in one data center and 3 replicas in another data center. So my log file has started at 2 GB and it has grown up to 330 GB, but still it failed because it ran out of space and log file was full and it got full with 9002 error. So now this 330 GB, the problem with always on, I'm talking about always on, 330 GB log that got generated on primary has to reach to this second replica, this, and this. Just imagine how painful will it be in these scenarios, especially with always on. Why I'm stressing this, you will get to know. Okay, 330 GB. So now what will you do as a DBA to overcome this problem? I'm throwing a scenario at you. Okay, just consider this as a scenario. I wanted to change a data type of one of the critical tables, which is of maybe 400 GB or 500 GB, whatever it is, maybe in terabytes. I wanted to change the data type, and that database is part of always on. What is the best way to perform this operation?
We can use table lock hint.
Table lock hint. Okay. Do you think table lock hint will help you in full recovery model? First point. We will talk about that now. Okay. Someone said table lock hint, and I will tell you the importance. It's very important that you have to have certain calculations with you. Let's do that one. Mahi, what was the transaction it's running? It will suggest commit batch. You can't do commit batch wise here, Mahi. The problem is it's a table and I have to change the data type for one column, and I have to do it on all the rows. I cannot do it in batches, right? It's not possible. I am not inserting, I am not updating, I am not deleting to perform this action in batches. So that is technically not feasible here. Okay, let me check the other chart. Remove or suspend the DB. Yes, remove or suspend the DB from availability group and then alter. Okay, so now the important point. This is where people differ, guys. Okay, the answers what I'm seeing. Who is that? Someone said removed from all availability group. That is fine, Parnika. And there is one more thing. Someone said the tab lock. That is one more answer. That makes sense here. But if you wanted to have that extra weightage or extra advantage compared to all other DBS when you are appearing for interviews, this is what you should have in your minds. Okay, I'll show you the steps, what I followed and the importance. Okay, so what I did in my case was I removed the database from always on, as Parnika said, and I changed the recovery model from full to simple. Why I change it from full to simple? Why not I keep that in full? Why I change it from full to simple?
Control the log file.
Because if I change from full to simple, I can achieve minimal logging. Okay, there is
Yes.
something called as minimal logging that happens only with full and bulk log recovery model, but not with full recovery model. Okay, minimal logging, you can't get it from your full recovery model. Batch wise answer previous question, bro. Simple recovery. Okay, fine. Then what I did is I created a new table. Okay, I created a new table and then populated the rows from older table to newer table. This new table will be with begin data type. Okay, so I created that new table and populated the rows from older to newer table, and finally I renamed this table. Of course, this required downtime, but you have to understand the logging here. We are talking about the amount of log that it generates. So if you see now, this is the one. This is how it happens. So someone said simple recovery model, that's fine. Someone said tablock, that's fine. But now see the picture, final picture. In full recovery model, without, I started this at 200 MB log file and it has grown up to 235. I just ran this operation. What? Insert into table name, select star from table name. Okay, I'm saying because I said remove the database, change the recovery model, and I said create a new table, right? I created the new table and then I'm saying populate the rows from older table to newer table. What should I do? I have to do insert into table name, select star from table name. Okay. So in full recovery model, when I ran this operation for that table, the log file has grown from 200 MB to 235 GB. Okay. And it took more than 4 hours. So it took more than 4 hours. Same thing. If I started this operation in simple recovery model, I didn't use any tab lock. Same thing happened even in simple recovery model. Okay. But whenever I made use of tab lock hint in simple recovery model, then from 200 MB, it just reached 1.2 GB. Okay. That is the best thing. And even the operation ran in just 18 minutes compared to 4 hours. Okay. That is the power of tab lock hint, especially with simple and bulk log recovery model. Okay, this happens only with, again, that is the reason I said I have to remove this database from always on, because I cannot do with full recovery model to achieve my minimal logging. It's not possible to achieve minimal logging in full recovery model. That is the reason I switched the database from full to simple. Even just having recovery model in simple will not give you any advantage. You have to make use of insert into table name, select star from table name, sorry, insert into table name with table lock, and then select star from table name. Then my log file has just consumed from 200 MB to 1.2 GB. Okay. So how many of you are really, aware of this process? Frankly speaking, you know that tab lock hint is there. You know that minimal logging can be achieved only in full and simple and bulk log. These things has to be there in our mind, guys, to differentiate from others. This is a real-time example. So if you're appearing for interviews, especially with always on, okay, the amount of log it generates across all the replicas will be insane. And your network bandwidth will get hampered just because of one alter operation, what the developer has carried out. So that is the reason DBAs, whenever they are running the scripts on production environment, you have to check the table size and you have to check whether there are any meta schema changes or metadata changes, something like this. Okay, so it is our responsibility. If you are a senior DBA, I expect you to know about the table sizes and read that script once and check what is being written inside that script. Don't just go and run it blindly. Just imagine this developer has given the script to you guys, DBS. And what will you do? You will just go and run it blindly, obviously, because we will not see what is being written inside that script. And if you run that script, then you will be the culprit, right? Definitely, because that operation will fail whether you run or the developer runs. It doesn't matter. The thing is that as a DBA, you should be aware of the table size. You should aware of the complications that comes into picture and the best practices that you have to follow to minimize this logging, the amount of log it gets generated. Okay. So that is the reason before running any scripts, be very careful. Any
So
questions with
what
this
about
example?
the changing the data type from int to big int? What
Hmm.
about the data compression if we enable? Because I
That is the next
wrote some
that is the next example I will show you. But is this clear, guys? With this example, if you're appearing for interviews, if someone asked like what are the best things that you carried out as a DBA that differs from others, so you have to come up with these kind of things that puts you that like what can I say, higher edge or better edge or others. Okay. Okay.
One question here.
Yeah.
So how that tablock is saving us from like here, like from generating log, huge log, just by giving the tablock hint? How
Tablock
can it
hint,
actually?
if you ask me, the best person nowadays, okay, there are many blocks in the past, but I feel currently, what's her name? One second, guys. What's her name? She did wrote many blocks. Something by name Naidu. One second. Oh, I didn't type anything.
Haripriya Naidu.
Haripriya Naidu. Yeah, Haripriya Naidu. That's true. Haripriya Naidu. So she has done amazing job when it comes to tablock and logging because she tested out all these things. So not searchable. I think, yeah, she is the lady. So I think she has written some few articles on this topic. Yeah, operation tablock, insert with tablock. So she did some amazing job when it comes to testing all these scenarios. I just faced this scenario a long time back. It's like July 2020, sorry, 2020, almost 5 years back. But I didn't get chance to again test all these scenarios. But if you ask me, that probably this blog, I think this is the blog of her. You can read this, like what happens internally with respect to tablock and all. So see, you have to follow certain people. Like, I mean, you can't be best in all the scenarios. Even Brent Ozer, he can't be best in all. The same goes with other also. So this lady has tried all the scenarios. So that is the reason I'm suggesting to go with her blog in this case. Okay, so just clear. Okay.
So, Vamsi, what do you suggest? This kind of, the changes we should always perform during off business hour, right? Because
Yeah.
it
So
will
see,
impact.
obviously, you have to do it in off business hours. That is first thing. Second thing, if you are trying to appear for interviews, your answer should be, um, whenever I'm getting script execution, okay, everyone says script execution as part of their resume, right? So we do run script execution. May not be now, but in the past we used to get so many script executions, right? So even if you are doing script execution, it's such a simple task. But if you're appearing for interviews, you have to hype yourself in such a way that I just won't run scripts right away. I will go through that script. I'm just going to throw you an example, like how I helped my team to overcome an issue that happened in my environment. Just like you have to create a story for yourself and you have to explain what I just carried out. Got it? I mean, present yourself
Yeah,
in
we
such a
can.
beautiful way. Yeah,
Yeah,
give
we
that
can filter.
impression.
Is there any delete or update? If it is just select, then we can go and execute. We need to filter it. What exactly the script is.
Yeah, you have to watch that script carefully and you have to ensure that script is being run in your lower environment. That is also one more thing. But yeah, this is about logging. Okay. What happens if you just put tab log? What happens internally with SQL Server? I would suggest to go with this block because even I have to read exactly what is happening behind the scenes when you just add tab lock hint. So tab lock hint is mainly for minimal logging. So how it is logging, you have to come up with an example. I will show that maybe some other time because I can't explain it without example. If I talk theoretically, it won't make sense. That is the reason I said even for dropping a cluster and non-cluster index, I have come up with this. I hope you got my point, right? I mean, I need an example to prove what is happening. Okay, so
Yeah, got it.
somebody was asking, let's try to, I think it is 5:27. If I start, I think it will be a problem for me. Let's try to quickly do this. So I have three databases here. Okay. Someone question is, what will happen if I create maintenance plan? Not Ola Halagren. We are talking about maintenance plan. Let's try to create one maintenance plan and see what happens. I did never made use of maintenance plan in recent times. Just for testing. Okay. Come on. Let it be whatever it is. I don't care name. I will say, what is that? Backup full. I'm just talking about full backup, not even log backup. Backup full. Next. DB1, SMK1, SMK2. All always on databases. Okay, so destination F colon, that is fine. I don't mind. Options, that is fine. You see the improvement in olden days, we didn't have this option of what is that algorithm, backup encryption, block size, max transfer size. These are all, it was not there. Now they added it. I mean, in the recent versions, I can see the improvement. So I'm just going with defaults, nothing else. Let's try to understand some simple concept, but still many people are having confusion. Please share the blog. Go ahead or Substack. Haripriya Naidu, what's our blog? Yeah, go ahead Substack. Yeah. Let me
Go
go to
ahead.
here. Report. Yeah, let the log be there. Finish. I'm just creating a maintenance plan. I'm creating one more maintenance plan on secondary. And let's try to run that job and see what happens. Very simple, but I don't know why people are having some few confusions here. Same thing. Oh, I disabled the agent. Just a second. Why we didn't get here, but agent is also stopped here, but we didn't get that error on node 2, but we got something on node 1. Anyways, that is a different story. Where is the maintenance plan? Yeah. Backup database, full, next. So here, if you see, it is not allowing. Okay, let me pick only always on databases. Next, finish. I think I shared this link, but I don't know. I'm just doing it again. Maintenance plans, right? What happens with maintenance plan? Backups to maintenance plan when you have always on databases. Like I have written few use cases, case 1, case 2, case 3. Let's try to run it. It was long time back, even I didn't remember. Let's try to run this and see what happens. So I have a job now, full backup job. So let me come over here and I'm trying to run this full backup job. Okay, it is success. I am doing this same thing on secondary as well. I can run it from here. You want me to run it from job only? And both are same guys, so don't get confused or it's one
Yeah,
and the same.
maintenance plan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one
we'll
maintenance
create a
plan.
job in job activity monitor.
So it got failed on secondary, right? It it went fine on primary, it failed on secondary. So let's try to check on secondary first and see what is there inside the log. So it got failed. It is saying, so if this is something like this, I will never be able to understand. So now let's go to the server and check the log file. That is the easiest way. I think someone was asking me this also. For your maintenance plan or job file, you have to ensure this is there. If it is maintenance plan, you have to have this one. You are simply making me DBA, SQL DBA, but it's okay sometimes. Okay, this is the one. I'm talking about reporting and logging. If you click on this, if there is a file, make use of this file to see what went wrong quickly, rather than going with view history. So let me sort it by date. So this is the one. So it got failed on secondary. So what is the error, exact error? So if you come down, you will get to know. Let me just format it and just go with Word. Oh my God. Hold on. Let me cancel this. Control F. Failed. Search for the keyword failed. Um,
Clearly mentioned not supported secondary
can you see
replica.
this? Yeah. So it is saying this backup or restore command is not supported on secondary replica. So it is failing on secondary replica. So that is what it is saying about secondary replica. Okay, these are with defaults. I didn't change anything. I just created the maintenance plan. I didn't make any changes. So if I go to my primary server, it's there on F drive. Let me go to primary. Somewhere here. So I have, is this the output or let me just say a second, guys. Where did I keep that? Destination, not this one.
I think default you have.
Yeah, I am checking the location. Just a second. F:\MS SQL backup. Yeah.
Just copy and yeah,
Uh, F:\MS SQL backup.
copy paste. Yeah.
Now see the magic. Okay. Um, this is secondary. Let me go to primary. This is primary. So I'm copy pasting that the same location. Did you notice any backup file here? Don't get surprised. This is what I'm saying. So this happens very normally, but I don't know, like you people will get confused. What is the reason? Why I'm not seeing any backup file here on primary and on secondary it got failed with this message. What is that message? Backup or restore is not supported. Very, very simple.
But check the same location on the secondary. You will get the file, right?
Let me go to my secondary. So
We have to check the backup preference.
can you see I got at least some file dbtest1.bak. I got something. Okay, but this is not today. This is some other day because if you see the timestamp, it is not 5:13. It is 4:22. So let me remove this. So no file has been generated on primary or secondary, but on secondary it got failed. But on primary, it appeared as succeeded. I mean, it went fine, but no files, no backup files.
You
Why?
need to select their copy only back.
No, I'm talking about defaults. I'm not selecting copy only or that or this. Let's stick with the basics, defaults. I would like to know the reason why no backup files are getting generated on primary. That is the first question.
This is because of backup preferences in Algorithm.
Yeah, very simple. So thing is that by default, I'm saying about all the defaults. I didn't change anything. Okay, I'm repeating that point. I'm not doing any changes. It's all defaults. By default, the backup preference is preferred secondary. Okay, by default. So when you just create maintenance plans with all the default things, okay, with all the default things, this is the surprise what you will get. You will see your backups are appearing as successful. Okay, but if you go and check your file location, it will be empty. It will be empty. And on secondary, eventually it will fail because full backups are not being supported on secondary. So it will fail. So what is the setback now? Or what is the what critical situation what you are having? Your backup jobs will not throw any errors because it is succeeded on primary. You will skip the notifications on secondary because that is not primary. So you'll skip that. Unfortunately, if you use maintenance plan, there will not be any backup files associated with your backups. So you are gone case. So that means unless you create any report missing backups or something, oh, even that doesn't help because you will just check the last backup date and here it will show as successful. I'll show that also. Let me show you. Select MSDB, right?
Yes, it will give you the last backup date.
Yeah.
I mean,
So you
whether
are
it is
gone. You are
success.
gone. Eventually, you are in critical situation with no backups. Select star from MSDB backup set. Order by backup finish state descending. Let me choose only the required columns. This is what happens, guys, with all the defaults. Very basic, but most people maybe they will forget or whatever it is. Is D. Can you see D here? So what is the time now? 13. At least it is not reporting on primary. So it is not showing as successful. Can you see here? Everything, because we are just talking about full backup. Let me order that also. We are lucky enough here. Okay, so if you see now DB1, it is saying 29, not today. Today is 13. So nothing here. So at least that backup report job can help us here. Okay, so be very cautious when you are creating the maintenance plans. What needs to be done if I want my backups to be successful? There are two options. First
Change the
option is,
secondary.
yeah, go to your secondary and then change this to copy only. Is that copy only? Okay. So now if I run the job or maintenance plan authorities, so let me execute this on secondary. I think there is one more option that I wanted to show, but I'm running out of time. Just a second, guys. Yeah, it is successful. Let's check the location. This is primary or secondary?
This is prime.
This is F try is primary. F try is primary only. Yeah. Um, 1 second. So it appears very simple, right? But that is not the case in reality. Just a second.
From
10
primary,
one.
you can search it, right? Yeah, dollar. I mean /.
Even here, it is successful. If I go here, it is successful. But even here, I am not able to see the backup files. Oh, this is E drive. Sorry. I have to go here. Yeah, it is here. Okay. I'm sorry for the little confusion. Because node 1 is secondary. I'm in my mind, I'm thinking node 1 as primary. So you can see the backup files here, right? So just by clicking on that copy only, I'm able to see the files. So what if I wanted to have my files on primary instead of secondary? What should I do now?
We need to change the preferred secondary to primary.
Yeah, if I go and if I change this to primary, then the backups will run only on primary. That is one thing. I have a question here. What will happen if I do this option? If I check this box, this one, for availability replicas, ignore the replica priority for backup and backup on primary settings. What happens if I check this box? Anyone knows this? Let me try to copy what is being written here. I'm not able to copy this.
So it will forcefully, it will go to the primary replica backup file will generate. It is saying ignore replica priority for backup and backup on primary settings.
Okay, let me just remove this one. Okay, I'll just click on OK and I'll save this. Okay, and I'll come over here and I'll remove that copy only thing, what we just did. This is not default. I'm just changing one setting. Okay, just one setting. That what is that setting? It is this setting. Ignore here. I'm just doing this on primary. I didn't do this on secondary. I'm just doing it on primary. Okay, now if I execute this, somebody I think they pinged databases which okay, let's see that Anika. I think this is F drive. F drive. Can you see it is just 441 matching up now, right? I didn't change the backup preference. Remember that I didn't change the backup preference. Okay. And still we are with preferred secondary, but I'm able to generate files even with backup preference as secondary. From you got my point, right? I'm on primary server. I'm on primary replica. I didn't change my backup preference to primary replica. It's just with the default. The only setting only change what I made is this setting.
You have did the checkbox, right?
Yeah, just one setting. So this is another way to get your backups on your primary without changing the backup preference. So this is one more interview question, what you can expect from interviewers if you are a senior DBA. I just wanted to show you this up. Very simple, but many people doesn't know about this. I mean, not many, yeah, few people. Got my point? This is one more interview question because I've seen this practically. People are getting confused here.
Yeah, okay. I believe because people are just using the Ola and they are not going through the
yes, obviously
the
maintenance
properties.
plans will not be used much here. I mean, many are not using maintenance plan, but if people wanted to test this, don't get surprised with your results. There will not be any files on your primary. It happens only on secondary, provided if you tick that checkbox. I mean, copy only has to be enabled. If not,
correct,
you have to go and enable that setting on primary so that with all the defaults, you can still leverage backups on your primary with the default backup prefer secondary option. Okay, I have to close this off now. I will continue with the rest of the questions in the upcoming class. Actually, I have to show up TDE and column level encryption together. I thought of doing, but I ran out of time.
So
we'll do that later.
If we, Ramsey, one question. If we check mark there, then on the secondary, we will able to take the backup.
Let me show you. So if I go, I know you will ask this question, but I have
to. Secondary is read only. So you cannot take the full backup on secondary, until and unless you mention copy only. Yeah.
So let me do both. I'm doing this and copy only, both together. Okay. And see what will happen. If you don't click on copy only, as Salman said, it will fail. So let me run this along with checkbox and copy only. Is this completed? Or?
And copy only also, it is not like it is taking backup on the secondary database.
See, it failed.
It
Okay,
will go.
it is failed now. I mean, once I click the checkbox on secondary, despite of having copy only backup, it failed. Let me show you. So copy only is still there. Oh, sorry, my mistake. Okay, let me run this again. Or is it still running? Okay, let me start the job. 5:45. I have to run now. Okay, done. So let me see the files here. 5:45. Yeah, I'm getting the files. Okay. And that setting is also there. So let's talk about this scenario tomorrow, guys, because I have to run. That is the reason. Manish, I will come back to your question tomorrow.
Wednesday, I
We'll
have
discuss
one
this.
question.
No, I can't take it now, Venkat. Sorry, I have to leave now. I'll take any. If you can ping me on my WhatsApp if you want. Yeah, sorry. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Vamsi. Thanks,
Yeah,
Vamsi.
yeah.